Because
they've acknowledged it happened.
Because it's a Belgian team, but it's a French rider, so they've got that interest, but they're also neutral, and they are probably the best informed audience for cycling.
What they're saying is that he's gone right to the limit and is really flirting with danger as far as the rules are concerned, and it was spoken about the incident, what has been captured on video and shown so far. It was interesting to note that when Alaphilippe was being dropped on the Galibier, the cameras swung and stayed on that front group and did not track the yellow jersey, where in past weeks we've seen them stick with Romain Bardet when he's being dropped, for example. Stick with Thibaut Pinot, whatever he's doing. Alaphilippe was being distanced and they took the cameras away. It was only later after the stage that video emerged, and he was riding right next to the crowd instead of in the middle of the road, and riders are talking about it.
That's
you do not want to get your colleagues offside.
And you noted it at the time. We didn't have enough evidence at the time when we were live to air, but I could see, reading your lips, that you were noting that it was clear, and the video shows that it was a push for Julien Alaphilippe yesterday.
I saw it in the footage. There were pushes.
And Primož Roglic at the Giro, the 10-second time penalty,
he got an incredibly long push. That's what the UCI say. It must be either repeated, and they say they don't have evidence of that, or it must be sustained. And the one with Roglic was a 15 to 20 second effort by the person pushing him. And it doesn't matter whether it's a team assistant or a fan. If you're pushed, you must slap that hand away.
So it's your responsibility.
Yes, it's your own responsibility. And put yourself out of the position where they can reach you. Don't ride right next to them. And there's a whole lot of speculation going around. I haven't seen evidence of it, but I've seen people speculating he asked to be pushed. I don't know. I won't confirm that, but I've heard it.
What I do know is there'll be no further action taken from yesterday.
No, there'll be no further action.
Once the jury's made its decision, just as they did, as per Luke Rowe and Tony Mutt, the decision is made. However, their attention has been brought to it.
You can put your house on it. And you can put your house on it. The teams like Jumbo-Visma and Ineos have had a word with the head of the commissaires to say, you better keep an eye on this, because if you can get away with that, they say, no, it's just one single little push. Well, do teams start placing assistants near the top of the climbs to give every rider a little push? Because then you are opening up a huge can of worms.
It is a huge can of worms.
He is extremely lucky not to be penalised.
There'll be no changes in terms of anything that did happen yesterday. There's 156 riders on the start line today from the 178 that started almost 3 weeks ago now in Brussels. Seems such a long time ago that Mike Turnison won that opening stage, yet you measure how much fun you're having by how quickly or slowly time seems to fly. This is stage 19, but if you were to tell me it's stage 9, I'd believe you.
It has flown by. We've had such fantastic racing, and having spoken about Julien Alaphilippe and what happened yesterday, I've got to say I'm still a fan. I love watching him race. I love his panache. I love the way he tackles the race. He just rides it for what's in front of him at the time. Doesn't overplan as they roll away into the neutral section at Saint-Jean-de-Maurienne. A short stage, Matt, 126 kilometres, but I'm expecting it to be incredibly intense because the other contenders, they need to ride him out of the jersey today. They can't afford to wait till tomorrow.
Well, you said it over dinner last night. They could outweight themselves.
I feel they waited too long yesterday on the Galibier. They let Dylan van Baarle from Ineos set the pace for a very long time, and then Geraint Thomas asked Bernal to attack to open things up.
So he says.
I even felt it was too late. Oh, they don't ride on instinct at Ineos. They plan things. It's weighing up a situation, but then there's planning into everything. He asked Bernal to attack, and then G tried to go across to him to make his own attack, and that's when Alaphilippe was being dropped. This is Le Cathédrale Saint-Jean-Baptiste.
And this one dates all the way back to the 11th century, and it's been classified as a historical monument since the 30th of October 1906. The foundation of the tower that you can see there, though, that actually goes all the way back to the 6th century. And this cathedral is one of the oldest frameworks in France. Several of the roof trusses have been dated to 10.75. So the roof trusses, they have stood the test of time, and you could use the old cliche, they don't make them like they used to. It's also well renowned for its frescoes and its windows, and I know who you want to talk about.
Yep, the man that, well, we haven't got an official prize, but we've started calling it the Scottie Pippen medal for assists, and that is Mark Soler, the man who is at the front of the peloton next to the red car. He has been so good in this tour for Team Movistar.
On the other side of the traffic island, that looks like it could be Tim Wellens, actually, that's trying to go across to Fabio Aru. The flag of Brittany that you see further back down the road, it is blowing a strong tailwind at this point. This is at the back of the race. This is Stefano Rossetto. He's been in lots of breakaways, particularly throughout the first week, and is now definitely paying the price.
That is just a case of on the flat, completely strung out, maximum speed, and suddenly you go pop.
It's back down to 25 seconds already. The best place rider in this group in terms of the overall classification is Dan Martin. The rider in the white colours now going through to the front. He's 34 minutes and 23 seconds behind the yellow jersey of Julian Alaphilippe. So for the Koenig Quickstep, they don't need to chase this group of four, but they need to control the rest of the peloton, so there's no subsequential breakaway like we saw yesterday that swells to 33 with some dangerous riders in it.
And it's not highly likely that riders who are highly placed on GC will make it into that group, but they do want to avoid riders like Kwiatkowski, for example, getting in the group, getting up the road. They become a springboard for the likes of Bernal and Thomas. Attack out of the group, drop Alaphilippe, get across to a fresh teammate in front who sat up and waited, drive it on through. I love the element of team racing in this tour. Movistar have been doing it really, really well. Unable to unseat Alaphilippe as yet. We can see now since yesterday with Van Baal in front, and today how Ineos are riding, they're trying to set up a similar situation.
Trying desperately to do so. They've covered just a little bit over 20 kilometres so far, and the average speed has been 43 k's per hour. Lars Bak has managed to return to the rear end of the peloton just in time for the start of the climb. And
when you've just returned, that is a horrible sight. As we hover above Le Fort du Sapy.
Fortified complex that was built purely for a defensive mechanism. This has itself standing at around about 1,700 metres above sea level. It was built in the late 1800s.
Yep, your heart sinks when you just get to the back of the peloton. You see the sign that says start of the climb, 3.1 kilometres to the top, and it completely strung out like a long snake in front of you, and the pace on. 21 seconds now, the gap to this front group. Aru still trying to get his way across.
I wonder what the emotional response will be from Dan Martin to this attack from Fabio Aru.
Was that Moscon that was trying to...
Well, they're clearly trying to mark the moves. Ineos with its strategy to get themselves into a breakaway. So much support, Alaphilippe. Lots of support for the current race leader. Nibali with a sneaky look across the left shoulder to see what's happening behind.
Still holding strong, 25 seconds, and that group of four will be more comfortable on the climb than they were on the flat. Exceptional climbers have made it into the front group. And this is going to split now, and this will become a big group if they can push this on. Aru, Woods, Bardet, Jack Haig has made it into the move at the moment, and it is splitting behind them.
And it's splitting at the back. This is Kalmajan now who's been distanced. He'll have plenty of company pretty soon.
I see Michael Matthews in the background.
Galopin at the front, trying to force the breakaway for Romain Bardet.
Steven Kruijswijk has followed this move. He is really quite close to the front. So there'll be a reaction to that. They will not want to let this group go because Kruijswijk is up there. George Bennett as well, I spotted. And then Movistar, they're shutting it down. But little cracks and splits all the way down the group.
And Simon Yates was near the front as well for Mitchelton Scott.
Tailwind up the climb. Perfect for these four.
It's down to 17 seconds because of that reaction, but they're steady. This is gas on, gas off, as the French champion, affectionately known as Wawa, Warren Barguil, is the next to go, followed by Galopin.
But Tony Galopin really struggled in the early part of this tour with the injuries he sustained from a crash in the French Championship. He's starting to come back into form.
He looked so sore in the first week. I grimaced watching him, and I felt uncomfortable watching him.
It was a big call to even start him in the tour, wasn't it?
It's impressive that he's gotten through that first phase, and now he's riding this strongly at the back end. Well done, Tony Galopin. Fabio Aru once again in the white colours behind them. Flick of the elbow for Morin-Barguil. Galopin wants the polka dot jersey to be with him. The big K on the move now, that is Ilnaz Zakarin. Or is he on the move? No, he's just rejoining. That's the split near the front.
Yeah, this was the attack that was going at the bottom of the climb, and it did split, but there was some highly placed riders in there. And I saw Kruijswijk following the wheels. So that forced the reaction of the rest of the favourites to shut it down.
Galopin, Barguil, just a small advantage over Fabio Aru, who looks over his shoulder, and once again he'll see Michael Woods breathing down his neck.
Now another small gap opening up, so rider on the front of the main peloton, just letting the wheel go, swinging across, trying to create, or help to create that breakaway.
Trying to. At the back, number 95, that's Sebastian Langeveld. He's second last overall.
And that was Michael Hepburn, who was just in front of him.
Also going back, Gonçalves. This is Pascalon. In fact, this is Van Melsen from Wanty-Group Goubert. Now, it went down to 17 seconds. It's been inconsistent with the chase, but out in front, they've been rock solid, and they're all fully committed as if it's a four-man team time trial. It's back out to 21.
A bit like we spoke about with how Quintana rode the Galibier yesterday, steady state effort from bottom to top, as opposed to attacks coming thick and fast, really intense into the red zone, but then you need to back off. So they're taking one step forward, two steps back in the chase group behind our leading four.
And behind that move from Morin-Barguil, I did note the black and yellow colours of Jumbo-Visma. They've got their strategy to try and put a rider out in front. 1 kilometre to the top of this Category 3 climb.
Theo Bilbao swings across. He looks over the shoulder. A lot of checking behind from these four. Vincenzo Nibali staying cool as ever. Just keep tapping out the rhythm.
Still more than 3,000 metres worth of climbing to go.
And he knows if he just keeps riding right at his limit, the gap has got to open back up. Surely the favourites, who are the only one who really could close it, are not just going to ride across this gap.
Dylan Groenewegen in the yellow colours at the back. Andre Greipel in the white colours. The sprinters aiming to survive. Even Sergio Henao is back here, number 93. That is Simon Clark.
Mike Turnison up the front of this little part of the group, just behind a split. In the group up in front of that, Greg Van Avermaet is there, Niels Pollitt. Here's Julien Alaphilippe with Geraint Thomas right on his wheel, and next to him is Thibaut Pinot, the favourites, all stuck together at the moment.
And importantly, just in front of the yellow jersey, he had Enric Mas looking really comfortable, sitting up at just in his jersey. One more teammate there for De Koning Quickstep. Couldn't see who it was, but I would assume that it was Dries Devenins. Guess who again?
Oh, yeah, you could say it without looking at the screen. I said there's a Movistar rider, Soler, with Wellens. Postelberger or Mühlberger?
No, that's Patrick Conrad, the
Conrad.
Austrian chap.
Oh, there's three of them, and I reckon they're triplets.
This is Rudy.
Forget the Yates twins.
They're hard to pick. Rudy Millar going backwards there for Group Armour FDJ. Just hearing on race radio, Caleb Ewan being dropped. In fact, here he is. Well, Caleb Ewan is in a really good position in the context of this stage, Robbie.
This is very good. I mean, what you've really got to do is just ride at your limit and hope you end up in a decent group. He's got teammates with him, and they just have to ride to their own limit for what they can manage for the next 100 kilometres in the mountains.
They're almost at the top of the climb. Dan Martin leading through. They're not worried about the 2 points for the top of this climb. They're just trying to maintain their advantage. It's Bilbao in second position. Nibali in third spot. Harada just holding on at the back. Martin leads them over the top. If you were in Caleb Ewan's position at the moment, would you be happy with that?
Well,
in the context.
You'd be happy that you've only just been dropped now.
Yes,
rather
that's my
than
point.
dropped at the kilometre 0.3. where some riders were already in trouble. And having only just been dropped, it's feasible he could descend his way back onto a much larger group that may be able to drag themselves back up to the peloton, but still plenty of racing to come to get themselves into the break of the day. And the problem is it's a short descent, a little bit of valley road which drags up. Basically, you're on the lower slopes of the next climb, the Category 2, the Monte de Ossoir. A 6.5 kilometre climb at 6%.
These are some of the riders that have been dropped from the yellow jersey group. One of them is number 22, Kasper Asgreen, and he is all in to make sure he returns to support the yellow jersey. What about the rider in last position?
Yeah, Jasper de Boest, he was in the break yesterday. He's the lead-out man for Caleb Ewan. He's been riding a really good tour, supporting Caleb. And at the back end of the tour, he's riding as if he's really fresh.
He was in the break yesterday and got to witness the yellow jersey battle on the Col de Galibier.
Well, he's much more a sprinter than he is anything else, and he's got himself in the break yesterday, still in the group now, so really well done to de Boest. We'll see groups flying down on the left of screen, scrambling to rejoin.
And as you've told us throughout this year's tour, the race organisers, they've formed the barrage. They're not letting those team cars go past, which, if there's a mechanical problem at the front, can cause an even bigger problem, as Jesus Herrada is having trouble keeping up with the descending skills of his three breakaway companions.
Yep, the other three fairly evenly matched, and Herrada struggling. Oh, he didn't quite time the bunny hop onto the bridge very well either.
It's a phenomenal atmosphere on the side of the road at the Tour de France, particularly in the high mountains, with the long wait for the peloton to arrive. And I saw some images yesterday of a Dutch group leading a big sing-along at the top of the Col de Galibier, where there was the sign for Free Luke Rowe. This race continues to splint. The yellow jersey here, Julian Alaphilippe, sits just behind the Mitchelton Scott rider, Adam Yates. This is Michael Woods in the pink colours. Patrick Conrad comes through, checking the whereabouts perhaps of Emmanuel Bookman from Bora Hansgrohe. Movistar there also with Marc Soler. This race is being torn to shreds by the tempo at the front. That leading four, they still hold on to a significant advantage in the context of this stage, just 44 seconds ahead of the yellow jersey group, but there is a split, and the 19 riders that find themselves at 25 seconds behind includes Rigoberto Urán. Rigoberto Urán having started the stage in 9th position overall at 5 minutes and 33 seconds down. This is Marc Soler now coming through to the front, followed by Alexei Lutsenko. Next in line is
waste of time. Very much. So far now, after the first shifting, was a very solid hole, a bit more descent, and there was two short sections for the concentrate. Something tin on my little pizza. So we just have to Good sprint. A little bit disappointed with that, because when I attacked on that hill and got halfway across, nobody joined me. So if you look at the profile now, see where the first checkpoint is, the yellow patch, a bit of green, and those two red sections. This is where I attacked early on. And had that been one or two people who joined me, we would have had maybe a minute or two faster. I think I'm going to a recovery right now. Let's figure out where we can go.
for the yellow jersey. As Bernal has cracked them, he has opened up the gap. Egan Bernal, the longer this climb is, the better it is for the Colombian. We could be seeing history